Hey, in this video, we'll see together how to manage a Git repository that may be hosted on GitHub, for example. We won't dive into the technical details, but rather go over the basics so that we can get hands-on as soon as possible. First of all, Git is a version control system, meaning its purpose is to manage different versions of a project. There are 5 key steps in Git. Clone, to get the content on your computer for the first time. Add, to add the files you have modified to the waiting queue. Commit, to bundle all added modifications together and ready them for upload. And finally, push, to actually send the modifications to the server and share them with your peers. On the other hand, you also have pull, to fetch the modifications made by other people. We'll go over each of these using the command line interface as well as the graphical user interface using GitKraken. Let's get into it. First, let's create a small repository on which to test our mastering of the basics. You can do this either inside an organization like the Beams EE in our case, or on your private profile in the repositories tab. We can give it a small and cute name like the curly fortnight that is suggested over here, and a small description for clarity's sake. I would advise you to add as well a README file that will be useful and that we will modify inside this tutorial. We can then create the repository, and here it is. So the first step we'll go through is to clone this repository on our local computer. Like I said in the intro, there are 2 ways to do this, either using the command line interface or GitKraken. Let's start with the command line interface. The first thing I will want to do is to get the URL to the repository I want to clone. It can be either the HTTPS address or the SSH address if you have added your SSH keys to your profile. So in my case for the CLI, I will use the SSH one. Then I bring up a command line interface and now navigate to the folder in which I want to put my project. Then the command is quite simple. It's git clone, the URL I just copied from the website, and I enter my password for my SSH keys, and that's it. I can then navigate to the repository curly fortnight we just cloned, and that's it. So the only file we have in here for now is the readme.md file we added automatically while creating the repository. Okay, so now let's make some modifications to the file so that we can add it to the commit waiting queue that we talked about earlier. Let's bring it up over here, and then instead of calling it git demo, it will be welcome to our demonstration repository. Switching to our plain old command line interface, we can check what are the files that have been modified using the git status command. And we see that one of the files have been modified inside the repository, and that is the readme.md file. Using the git add command followed by the file we actually want to add and send to the server and share with colleagues, friends or whatever. Enter, and that's it. Entering git status again, we see that now is turning green, meaning that it has been modified and the changes are to be committed. They are ready to be committed, but that will be the next step. So once you have added everything you want for some feature, you need to think hard about a meaningful message that will encapsulate the essence of your contribution. In CLI, like the one we have here, the default console file. In CLI, the command is git commit -m, and then between brackets your meaningful message. This message is meaningful and enough. and that's it. If you omit the -m argument in the comment, you will be brought up with the default text editor in your command line interface in your console. That's most probably Nano, so that you can write multiple lines, commit messages, and whatnot. So after committing the message, it's not enough. A git status will tell us that our branch is ahead of our remote by one commit, that we did not push yet to the server. That's logic. So the command is quite simple. Git push is enough. Enter password if prompted correctly, please. What did I say correctly, please? And that's it. You will see some stats and that it is successfully pushed to the server now. Now let's try again to clone this repository we just created, but using the graphical user interface. So that is the basic welcome page, and we want to clone our repository. We'll want to use the clone with URL method. So we'll need to get the URL to our repository. This time I will be using the HTTPS one. I will want to paste it here, there, and then I will navigate to the folder in which I want to clone my project. Click clone the repo, and that's it. We open it so that we can navigate inside this project and get to the next step. Let's make some modifications to the file. Let's bring it up over here. Now we can do the same using the graphical user interface, and we see that we have our initial commit. That is the very first entry in our repository, but the top line is like dotted circle over here, and this is work in progress, and we have one modification. If we click on it, we see that we have unstaged files on the right window. That is telling us which files have been modified and have not been added yet. So to add them, we just need to stage those files, and it's adding them to the waiting queue. That is the stage files. Now to commit the stage files, to actually ready them for upload, we can add a commit message. We have a summary here. For example, this message is meaningful and enough. And if you want to, you can also add a more detailed description. Once that's done, you can click the commit changes to one file. Now, it seems to be enough, but it's not. It's not, but because we need to push, like it said here, to origin main, that is send the modifications to the server. Clicking this will send the modifications, and that's it. You have pushed successfully main to origin. And if we go to the web page, we will see on the web page after refresh that we also have the modification we made locally on the website. Now, let's say you want to pull some modification made by some colleague. For example, you just added yay to the README file with an ever more meaningful message 1 minute ago. Let's say you want to pull that to your computer so that you can continue editing the project. Let's go back to the graphical user interface. We see now that our little computer, the local, is on the last message, the last status we committed to the server. But that online, we have an update. So what we can do now is actually pull the modifications, and we see that our little computer, the local version, skips to the very most recent version of the project globally. Let's make a small modification so that we can see what happens in CLI now, in command line interface. So what we can do now is, for example, edit this file. Yay. I don't agree actually. I would say nay. I will stage the file, then add short summary message. My commits are better. Please stop. Thank you. Commit changes. Don't forget to push them. And we can see now that the push has been successful. And online we have the very latest version. And we say that my commits are better, and we don't have the please stop, thank you, unless we click on the message and we have the details. We also can see here all the modification that has been made to all the files modified in this very commit. Yay has been changed in nay in this instance. Now let's pull these modifications using the command line interface. In our console, the command is quite simple: git pull, enter a password if prompted, and that's it. You will have a summary that the number of files have been changed, which ones, and how many lines, how many modifications have been made. And that's basically it actually. And well, that's it for the basics actually. With a bit of training, there's no reason why you can't become your own Git guru. If you want to go deeper into the rabbit hole, you could look into issues to keep track of potential improvements on your project. .gitignore to ignore files don't want to be part of your repository. Branches for concrete features implementations or merger management, licensing a project according to its purpose, managing releases and tagging key commits, blaming commits to track down the author of a particular line, diff analysis to compare different versions of a file, pages to host website using a repository, and so much more. Take it slow, master the basics before getting lost in all the features, and enjoy finally being able to remember what you did at the beginning of a project. Have a good one.